Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Friday the 13th, March 13th. Markets are in turmoil. Coronavirus is peaking. We're in just a world of hurt. And I thought what I would do is I would talk about a concept that I developed many years ago. My kids are well aware of it because I brought them up with the concept. It's called the alternative universe. Yes. So as I'm driving to work, let's talk about it. All right. So it's cloudy, it's raining. It's Friday the 13th. The markets are in turmoil. Coronavirus is on everyone's mind. Everyone's freaking out. I went to the supermarket yesterday, right? To buy some basic supplies. My wife put me on the mission. And I go down the aisle, completely sold out of paper products. Toilet paper, paper towels, all that kind of stuff. Like, what is the psychology behind that? Okay? There was plenty of food, plenty of everything else. Toilet paper is sold out. Interesting. Now, since women do most of the shopping, what is the psychology behind that? What is the female psychology behind toilet paper? Stocking up on toilet paper. I mean, isn't food more important? Last time I checked, I could probably live without wiping my ass, or with wiping my ass with something other than toilet paper, but I can't live without food. So, I don't know. It's a very interesting case study, psychological. Somebody needs to drill down into the psychology behind that. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to talk to you about today. I developed many, many years ago, largely from skiing and observing large crowds at ski areas, observing crowd behavior, not only at ski areas, but also in the stock market and capital markets, this concept of the alternative universe. Okay, so the concept is very simple. Indirectly, it's been elucidated by many people, such as Warren Buffett. But basically, the concept is this. Observe what everyone is doing. Observe how their primitive cerebrum processes data coming in. Observe their behavior, and then do the opposite. Okay? Now, I'll give you an example. This works for me in ski areas all the time. Okay? Everyone at ski areas, especially if they're renting or staying at a lodge, everybody, particularly men, are obsessed with getting up early, getting out, getting first tracks, getting out on the lift at 8 o'clock in the morning, and, being the first one in the parking lot, etc., etc. Okay? So that's the basic psychology that you're dealing with. So what do? I'm purposely, unless it's a powder day, guys, okay? If it's a powder day, all bets are off. I do try to get first tracks. But if it's not a powder day, I show up around 11 o'clock. They call me Half Day Greggy. They make fun of me, but I show up around 11 o'clock. By 11:30, people are starting to, all the early birds, some of them are starting to leave. And parking spaces open up. I always get a parking space, okay? Whereas if I showed up around 9 o'clock when everyone else shows up, getting a parking space would be very difficult because people start to fall off. Guys that are only skiing half day, ski in the morning, then they start leaving, giving up mint parking spaces, which I then get, okay? So that's an example. Also, you think about, I'll just give you another example. At ski areas, all the early birds, if they get there at 8 o'clock, around 12 o'clock, 12:30, they're going to all go in for lunch, right? So those that ascribe to the alternative universe know that between 12 o'clock and 1:30, the lift lines are going to be the shortest because everybody else is going in for lunch. So the practitioner of the alternative universe shows up, and that lunch period is prime time, right? So I typically don't eat lunch. I get there later. I typically don't eat lunch till 2:30. Again, the alternative universe, where everyone else is clearing out of the cafeteria and going out because they came in between 12 and 1:30. They're all clearing out. I come in. I have no trouble getting a table. No line at the cafeteria. I just go smoothly in there, and that's it. Okay? So, how do we profit from the alternative universe? Okay? Let's take the stock market. Now, this is not a unique idea. This is something that Warren Buffett has been preaching for years. But the basic concept of the alternative universe in the stock market or in the capital markets would be get greedy when everyone else is fearful, and get fearful when everyone else is greedy. Okay, so what that means is the best time to buy is when everyone is freaking out and panicking like they are right now. Okay? And if you have a longer term horizon, which you always should in everything you do, not just trading in the markets, but also in business, when you see a 15 to 20% sell-off and everyone's panicking, everyone's getting margin calls, everyone's freaking out, everyone thinks the world's going to end, that's when you step in and buy. All right? Now, all the traditional money managers out there are going to go, yeah, well, no, you shouldn't buy when everyone's panicking because that's risky, that's dangerous. But yet, these are the very same people that will recommend stocks at the peak of the market. Okay, so, traditional money management, under traditional money management, people earn very mediocre rates of return. And actually, when the market's selling off and sentiment is uniformly negative, that's actually in my opinion, the lowest risk point to buy. Now, yeah, you might buy and it might go lower, okay? But our odds are, the probability is, let's take the current market, the probability is this corona thing, as I said yesterday, the world's not going to end, guys, okay? We as human beings are very ingenious at fighting these things and overcoming these things, okay? This is not the Black Plague, okay? It's not something that if you get it, it's an automatic death sentence. The mortality rate in this thing is lower than 0.1%, okay? It's lower than that. It's less virulent than the typical flu, but it's highly contagious. So that's why everyone's freaking out. But this thing's going to blow over. I don't know if it's 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. No one's even going to be talking about it anymore. And the market's going to be a lot higher, okay? We might have a mild recession, but the market's going to be a lot higher. So the alternative universe comes into play in so many different ways. And all it simply means is figure out what everyone's doing and then do the opposite. All right? Think about it. My kids are going to laugh if they see this because I've been teaching them this since they were like 2 years old. And, it's hard to be a contrarian, right? Because you always have that consensus view out there. Okay? Consensus view, in my opinion, the consensus is normally wrong. Okay, take in politics, for example. The consensus was that Hillary Clinton was going to beat Donald Trump, right? But The problem is that the consensus is formed largely by the media and by brainwashing that the lamestream media promulgates onto the general public, and it's generally wrong because it has an ulterior motive. So they took a person who was a horrible candidate, Hillary Clinton, who basically a lot of people just didn't like. And in politics, there's no substitute for charisma, and she basically had none. Unlike her husband, who had a lot of charisma. And a complete unknown to politics, Donald Trump, came in and cleaned her clock. Okay? Now, I thought that she was one of the worst candidates I'd ever seen. But, I gotta say this is not a political channel, but I'm just astounded that it looks like the Democratic Party is going to nominate literally the worst candidate in the history of the world. The worst presidential candidate I have ever seen in my life, Joe Biden. It's astounding to me, and it leads me to believe that something's going to happen between now and the convention that is going to derail that, because I think everyone's going to recognize that he's basically unfit to not only to run for president, but to actually do the job of being president. And he's basically not running on anything. I mean, a career politician, 35 years in politics, 77-year-old guy, that's who's going to lead the progressive Democratic Party. It's just, if I were a Democrat, which I'm not, I would be completely freaking out. And I don't see how a groundswell doesn't develop to, pick somebody else. But I'm not going to dwell on that because I don't want to get too political on this channel. I might start another channel that's political, but not this one, okay? So anyway, guys, listen, think. When you look at everything, when you look at the market, when you look at your own life, when you look at business, okay, we didn't even talk about just business in general. Affiliate marketing, for example. When you're building out your affiliate marketing business, and when you're looking at marketing things online, look at what everyone's doing. Look at where the crowded markets are, where there's an incredible competition, and don't do that, because you're going to be a loser. You're either going to have to spend too much money to promote your offers in markets where there's too much competition and you're not going to make money, or you're just never going to get the thing off the ground because there's just too many people trying to do the same thing. Okay, I always try to look at, find a niche that A, has a lot of people interested in the niche so that it's fairly deep, but B, a niche where, not a lot of people are trying to do the same thing, right? It makes common sense, because you don't want to have to compete in a market where everyone's trying to do the same thing. Russell Brunson, who is a master marketer, founder of ClickFunnels, basically talks about blue oceans versus red oceans. Blue ocean is where you want to fish. Blue ocean is where there's a lot of people interested in the subject, but there isn't a lot of competition. And a red ocean are markets that are overfished, and there's a lot of sharks in the market, and the water's red. There's blood in the water. That's the analogy, and I think it's a very good one, not only for marketing, email marketing, or video marketing, affiliate marketing, whatever you want to call it. Try to find niches that have a lot of interest, where there's a market, but there's not a lot of competition. That's an example of of the alternative universe. All right, so anyway, guys, my time is up. I'm almost at the office. And have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. And take care. And just think about that alternative universe when you're laying in bed and your wife's asleep and snoring. Just think about that. Okay? Take care, guys.